Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City. On the program today, the chair and the vice chair of the Nevada System of Higher Education, Byron Brooks and Joseph Arrascada, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. It's a 50,000 square foot hardware store and a whole lot more. It's huge, with clothing, power equipment, tools, and of course, hardware. Big R is located on Bering Boulevard in Sparks, next to Smith's and opposite Reed High School. Big R, hardware, and a whole lot more.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2023 legislative session is brought to you by Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. The Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And by Nevada Builders Alliance, building a better Nevada.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome to the program from the Nevada System of Higher Education, the chairman of the Board of Regents, Byron Brooks, and the vice chairman, Joe Arrascada. Pleasure to have you both here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.
You're very welcome. So let me start out with you, Chairman. How do you think the university system handled COVID?
I think it was a place where there are some opportunities to learn how to affect education in a manner that students can still benefit, even if we're closing something down. So particularly if we take a look at online capabilities, I think there were some lessons learned in specifically online capabilities that demonstrate there are some things that we might want to do better in terms of improving the process, so that should there be some type of circumstance where something should happen, we're using that online portal, if you will, to make sure that students remain educated through a process of time or closure. So that was a good lesson.
You know, one of the things that surprised me was that despite all the time we've had for video recording and online, the systems, and this is everybody across the country, not just here, weren't as prepared as I thought they could be. We have some wonderful teachers in Nevada, and I'm going to pick on Bo Bernhard as an example. I mean, nobody has more energy than enthusiasm than him. And, you know, I don't really understand why we didn't have a bank of videos of some of these great teachers ready to go. Is that something you guys are talking about in terms, because we know this is going to happen again, hopefully not in our lifetimes, but it could happen next winter.
What the entire university system, I can't confirm that we're 100% prepared for that if or when it does happen again. But what I can guarantee is that when the audible had to be called, in which we had to divert from an in-person class to a virtual class, the system did well. We did very well. Each campus did well. Great Basin College up in Elko, they have an extremely positive and well-groomed online presence, and they do a great job. And the way that the system followed, not just their leadership in the entire process, but the system itself had a wonderful response. If it does happen again, and that's a big if it does happen again, we, the Nevada System of Higher Education, is extremely prepared for, once again, if or when it happens.
Okay, and sadly, I'm afraid, I think, you know, just from the science, we know that eventually it is going to happen again. Okay, Let's talk about the system as it is today and in conjunction with the legislature as we're taping here down in Carson City. One of the things that Dale Arrascada, who's your chancellor, said on the program is, and so did Brian Sandoval, the president of UNR, that they want to see the funding restored to the level it was before COVID. Is that your main priority?
It's a huge priority. And luckily, we have a governor who is supporting those measures, I think in an exemplary fashion in terms of what he's proposing and what he's hoping for us to be able to achieve. I think it was somewhere around 61 million if we take a look at totality of monies that NSHE lost, on or about during the last session. So when we talk about growth, access for students to enable students to be successful on campus, the ability for institutions to make sure that the experience students are having on campus are very positive experiences. The bottom line is it costs to be able to do that. And so by restoring budgets, it opens up better pathways than what we've seen the last couple of years to enable our community members who wish to go down the pathway of higher education, an entry and hopefully a very positive experience.
Are you hoping to just get back to where you were, or are you hoping to get back to where you were plus what you would normally have considered a reasonable increase?
A closed mouth doesn't get fed. Unless, if you can ask a question.
Can I write that down? Okay.
You have to ask. The budget restoration is number one, of course. And if we can at least be appropriated the amount that was previously provided, that's a win. But if whatever's on top of it, I'm sure Chancellor Arrascada, the gentleman you just mentioned, I'm sure that the question has been presented. And hopefully there will be an increase to the restoration that benefit all campuses.
One of the things that's unique about this session, as against most sessions, is we have money. And so we know that K through 12 is going to get a substantial increase. What would you like to see if your wish list were laid out? What things would you pick out from that wish list that you'd like to see accomplished?
Well, initially the restoration of budgets for each
Right.
institution, right? DRI's funding formula looking a little bit different and making sure that they have the funds to do the things that they need to do.
Because most of it is privately funded right now.
A lot of it comes from grants that those
Right.
researchers are writing themselves.
Right.
That institution is different than the other 7 in terms of how we work and what funding looks like. There are some things that we could be looking at, even in terms of what we might say are enhancements. So perhaps if we're taking a look at economic development and underneath that umbrella, we're looking at nursing, and we want to speed up the rate in which we're graduating nurses. Being able to fund faculty to offer summer courses is one way of doing it so that we're shortening that time limit. So there are several areas that we certainly could look at in terms of priorities or enhancements to be able to speed things up for the state. And I think that's the biggest purpose when we're taking a look at restoring budgets is making sure that it's used in a manner that supports students and supports our economy.
Another thing is, and I think this is a big part of economic development that the university system is responsible for, are buildings. What kind of buildings are you hoping will come out of this session?
There's such huge opportunity for growth throughout the entire system, but we also have to maintain the enrollment. And enrollment right now is also on the forefront of each president's examinations. We want to make sure that the budget is equitable to what the enrollment, and we want to continue to build. It's not the field of dreams mindset. If you build it, they will come, because each campus has such great opportunity. The entire system and what we have and the opportunity for growth from the campuses in Southern Nevada to the north, there are opportunities aplenty. And there's property, there's growth, there's faculty, there's an opportunity to build.
Okay, are there specific buildings that you would like to see in various schools?
There are, but those will be coming down the pike.
Okay.
And they'll be announced later on.
All right. I have a question about DRI. I am a huge fan of DRI, and yet this is the least publicized school in the system, and I've never understood why. It drives me crazy because they are doing not only incredible things in Nevada, but literally around the world.
Listen, I agree with you, so I don't have an answer for why it is what I know to be our hidden gem. Not only are they working on things in real world application, but they've got some pretty substantial government contracts where they're doing some very unique exploration into areas that not only the state, but different parts of the world, I think, will benefit from based on the amount of research that they do. And look, perhaps there's a way that we want to demonstrate and showcase DRI in other manners in which we are now. And part of one of the areas that Joe and I have been talking about and implementing when we talk about intentional areas of focus are demonstrating what our universities and what our colleges and community colleges are doing. In other words, let's showcase the positive that we have from these institutions, because it's really important that we raise the standard for how we get things done in Nevada, particularly with higher education, so that it's simple when someone's looking at coming to the state from another state, why they would want to come here. And if we hide or we don't speak enough about some of the great successes of our institutions, then we're hurting ourselves. And so each quarterly meeting, as we continue to move down this year, we'll do that. We're going to showcase institutions in terms of what they're producing and what they're looking to do in the future, because I think those are important conversations.
Oh, to say the least. I mean, Blackfire at UNLV has had tremendous outreach, and people are very aware. They may not know specifically because some of it is so high tech. But I mean, DRI for decades has been operating in places like Antarctica and Egypt and South America. I mean, doing incredible work. So my plug is, please figure out a way to be able to help promote those guys, because they've become more and more over the years this group that are doing fantastic work, but nobody knows about it.
Right.
Let's take a break. We'll come back much more after this timeout.
Okay.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
The casino industry drove Nevada's economy for decades. By the 1990s, however, the state's sole industry was in sharp decline. Many were losing their homes, many were leaving the state. Is Reno on track to be the Detroit of the West? Was an October 2010 Reno Gazette-Journal headline. Nevada knew it was time for a change and a time to diversify. Story County took that lead, took risks, invested tens of millions transforming its desert into a place of opportunity and a future for Nevada families needing something new. That desert now provides thousands of high-paying tech, advanced manufacturing, and energy careers at companies like Tesla, Panasonic, Google, Switch, and Redwood Materials. Story County transformed Northern Nevada forever, and the tide of opportunity has raised all vessels through construction contracts, high-paying careers, and the power of payroll. Tens of millions have been generated in sales and property tax, permits, and other revenues for Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, and for all of Nevada. Enough, in fact, to generate a surplus after public services are provided. And best of all, a sustainable economic climate has been created, enabling our children to stay in Nevada and live prosperous lives in their home state. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
It's the Lucky Lexus Cash and Free Play giveaways at Tamarack. Weekly cash and free play winners plus a $20,000 cash winner guarantee. And drive home a brand new Lexus NX30 or walk away with $42,500 in cash. It's a good time to win at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with the Board of Regents Chairman, Byron Brooks, and the Board of Regents Vice Chairman, Joe Arrascada. We get emails, and so I want to read you a couple of the next questions from there. One of the questions was, salaries will be improving, but not enough, losing talent and hard to hire new faculty, etc. What do you plan to do about that?
Job attractability is number one. We didn't make sure that the entire system is an attractive position through the reestablishment of PEB benefits, long-term disability insurance. That is imperative for each campus. If you're planning for a future on any campus, you need to make sure you have security. We need to face the fact. Our system is in competition with the other campuses throughout the country, regardless if you're looking at New England, California, Seattle, or Florida. People who want to educate want to make sure they go to a location that's going to not only will they be able to educate the students, but they too need to be taken care of. Need to be taken care of compensation-wise, but also in long-term insurance. Those are important. We need to look as attractive on our system as other systems do throughout the country.
You know, one of the things that I found interesting was several years ago when Milt Glick was still alive, he invited me to be on a board choosing the new dean of the journalism school at UNR. And I was surprised, as part of the business community there, I was surprised that the faculty didn't think that things were attractive enough to bring somebody of a high standard. And yet from a businessman's perspective, it was like, boy, this is a high salary, what a great campus to come to. You know, it had plenty of money because of the funding from Reynolds. There seemed to be an imbalance between what academia thought was appropriate to get the best people and what business people looked at from their perspective. How do you think about that?
So what I'd like to offer in the conversation about faculty, more importantly faculty retention, is that's one of the conversations we should be having. And we're not having enough of those conversations. And there are plenty of conversations that we have that may not relate to things that will improve conditions for the state of Nevada, but faculty retention is one of them. And look, during this legislative session, there's the COLA increase. Now the problem with the COLA increase is that when we take a look at the percentage, which will be eventually, I think, 16 or 17%, it's not being funded correctly. And so what we're gonna have is we're gonna have budget restoration from the governor, and then we're gonna have this COLA percentage rise that the institutions are gonna be responsible for. Now, if the institutions are receiving budget restoration, and now part of that funding has to go to faculty pay, and I'm certainly not arguing against that.
Sure.
What I'm simply suggesting is that if the legislative bodies do not fund that as well, then the budget becomes a bigger issue. And the trickle-down effect is that eventually the presidents of the institutions will come to the board and they will say, we have to raise student fees in order to compensate the cost for the COLA increase. And I'm confident sitting here that nobody on the board wants to increase student fees. And so if there is a no vote to increase student fees, then it's what are they going to cut back? And so faculty retention is a conversation that we should be having, and we should have it more often than not to ensure that when we're setting up access for students, there's faculty there to ensure these students have a fantastic experience.
All right, so if you're talking about $60-odd million to replace the funds that were taken away, what kind of increase are you looking at, Joe, to take care of this portion of it?
In my opinion, that's an unknown number. Finding the satisfaction of each campus and the satisfaction of each employee, we want to make sure it's going to be faculty, staff, the entire body of representatives who are going to be standing and working on each and every campus. The amount of money that's going to need to be allocated, everybody wants more. Everybody would like to be paid more. And don't get me wrong, I know that through the system, we want to give everybody the appropriate compensation than which they'd be comfortable with. But to give a dollar amount, and it'd be tough to say.
But at some point you're going to have to if you want to get that from the state rather than from the individual colleges.
That's exactly right. And so there has to be a little bit more digging into what each institution is going to end up paying out. And it's based on the size of the institutions. We're talking millions.
Right. And we're talking today is May the 1st.
Right.
You got a month.
Right. And so the conversations we've been having in our public meetings, this has been brought up. And what we have suggested is let's make sure that our acting chancellor is having these conversations with legislators. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure that if it looks like he could use some more support, let's ensure that the presidents of the institutions are having these conversations. And if we need more support, let's ensure that the board is doing everything it can to project this message that without proper funding, the increase in COLA is fantastic, but it's going to be at a detriment to the universities, which again could trickle down to a detriment to students if we have to talk about increasing student fees.
Okay, so let's answer this question briefly if we can. Is everybody on the same page? When Jim Rogers was the chancellor, it was pretty much a rule that all the presidents and everybody else had to work through him to be able to get the message to the governor and to the legislature. Are you guys all on the same page with this, between you, the chancellor, the rest of the board, and the presidents?
So I'm confident that the conversations that have taken place, even prior to the session beginning, right? So that presidents were on board with what type of funding was going to be requested, that the institutions aligned on most things regarding what they would ask for in their dream sheet. Obviously, there are going to be institutions that feel there are some things that they might need, even if it's an enhancement, that could become part of a conversation. But overall, is the idea and the best method of getting things done to be collaborative? The answer is yes. And so for the most part, I would say that's exactly what's taking place.
All right, let's take another break and we'll be right back.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're continuing our conversation with two representatives from the Nevada System of Higher Education. Both the chairman and the vice chairman are here. Joe Arrascada is the vice chairman. How is the search for a new chancellor going? Because Dale Urquiaga on this program made no bones about the fact that he was in for 1 year and done.
He made it clear to all of us.
Yes, he did.
He made it clear to each and every one of us, and we heard him loudly. I can proudly state that yesterday was the closing date. For April 30th was the closing date for the application process, and we had a very surprisingly robust application pool. Strong candidates from across the entire country. As a matter of fact, we had, and I can state this, We had international applications that were submitted, and they look promising also. But we're in the process, and it is unquestionably some of the most positive candidates we've ever seen with the application for the chancellor position.
And that is terrific, considering some of the problems that occurred before Dale took over. I'm going to be discreet when I say that.
Was that a question, Sam?
I think
that was just a statement that you were making?
I think I left it as an open-ended
Perfect. Listen, what I would say is that Joe, as the chairman of the search committee, is doing an outstanding job. Joe, the vice chancellor. I'm sorry, the vice chair. And while our acting chancellor has a timeline, that doesn't influence, I believe, our vice chair's capability of getting things done and making sure that the right person is hired. So in other words, this isn't going to be rushed. We are going to find the right person because the board does not want to be in a position where we are hiring for the sake of hiring. So I have a tremendous amount of faith in Joe Arrascada's way of getting this done, and that the process is going to be smooth, and we are going to be better off in the long run once it's complete.
I want to thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. I know you have a lot of work to do across the street here at the legislature. Please come back again and let's talk more about this after session, because there's a lot more we could delve into.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2023 legislative session is brought to you by Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. The Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. And by Nevada Builders Alliance, building a better Nevada.
Thanks to the Bank Saloon in Carson City and the Builders Alliance for their help with our coverage of the 2023 legislative session. We'll see you on the next podcast.